Buenos días y bienvenidos. Good morning and welcome. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today. Thank you, Barbara. It is a high honor to be your running mate as we embark on this journey to restoring New Jersey together. I want to take a moment today to let all of you know who I am, where I have been, what I believe, and why all of that makes me so eager about this chance to bring change to New Jersey. I have spent my career fighting for healthcare workers who can't afford to see a doctor when they are sick, and for nursing home and home health aides who leave their own families in the morning to go look after someone else's. Day in and day out, I have gladly embraced their struggles as though they are my own. To me, that's what leadership means. And that's what I see in Barbara Buono. She is a woman of courage and candor, someone who never hesitates to say what needs to be said. And when she raises her voice for our middle class and our working people, our women and our children and our seniors, it is with a sense of sincerity that I have long admired. I'm proud to be on the ticket with a woman who shares my values. Many of you here today know me as 1199 SEIU Executive Vice President Millie Silva. That journey started over 20 years ago when, as a sophomore at Columbia University, I saw an ad in the New York Times calling for people passionate about organizing, about progress, about creating a better tomorrow. I thought of the friends and neighbors I grew up with in the Bronx, people who wanted nothing more than opportunity. And I had to answer the call. Since then, I have knocked on doors, I have marched and rallied, and poured my heart and soul into communities in need of affordable housing and safe playgrounds and a chance at the American dream. That is who I am. But when I go home at the end of each day, I bear another title, the one I think is more important than organizer, and that is mom. When I was asked to take on this role, as you can all imagine, I thought about a lot. But more than anything else, I thought about my 3 children. I thought about the New Jersey I want them to inherit. And I decided that a New Jersey that gives $2.1 billion to corporations, but denies working people the right to an increase in the minimum wage tied to the cost of living, that isn't good for my children, and it's not good enough for yours. I decided that in New Jersey, where the cost of college makes higher education impossible for some of our best and brightest students, that isn't good enough for them. I decided that in New Jersey, where the men and women I work with every day must choose between keeping the lights on and putting food on the table, that isn't good enough for them. I decided that my children deserve a better New Jersey. Under Chris Christie, New Jersey is hurting. Because of his failed fiscal policies, policies that are rooted in trickle-down economics, New Jersey has one of the worst business climates in the entire nation. Today, 400,000 men and women are still without work. While the wealthiest get away with paying less than their fair share, Governor Christie's raised taxes on working people by slashing the earned income tax credit. And just Friday, he continued his attack on our middle and working class residents when he decried Obamacare, calling it a sad legacy for our president. But what's really sad is that because of Christie, hundreds of thousands of New Jerseyans still don't have access to the care they most desperately need. At a moment when we need comprehensive gun reform to reduce violence and establish safer communities, Chris Christie's offered nothing but hollow solutions. And in 2013, in one of the most progressive states in the country, loving, committed couples have been denied their right to marry, and it is because of Chris Christie alone. We live in a New Jersey where whatever Chris Christie says goes. That's not a leader, that's a bully. So I stand before you as the daughter of a single mom from Puerto Rico. Estoy aquí como una boricua que representa la comunidad latina. So as a member of the Latino community, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to talk about Chris Christie's dismissal of 1/5 of New Jersey's population. Aún no tenemos igualdad para los estudiantes inmigrantes en las universidades, y esto es por Chris Christie. Aún muchas latinas en New Jersey, sin seguro de salud, están sufriendo porque las clínicas médicas se han cerrado, y esto es por Chris Christie. Aún no tenemos un gobernador que está trabajando para la reforma migratoria. Y aún no tenemos un gobernador que nos habla de las cuestiones que nos afectan. Hoy en día decimos no más. To all our friends who don't speak Spanish, you ought to know that the only thing standing in the way of tuition equality in New Jersey is Chris Christie. His veto of $7.5 million in funding for women's clinics 4 years in a row impacts Latinas significantly. Even though he's in a position to do so, he's failed to lead the push for immigration reform. And if, as the old saying goes, we can judge him by the company he keeps, Chris Christie's associations with right-wing extremists are a cause for alarm. Just recently, his good friend Steve King casually said the majority of dreamers, young immigrants who had no choice about whether to come to this country with their parents are more likely to be criminals than scholars. And Chris Christie, putting the approval of a man like Congressman King first, putting his own ambitions before those of our undocumented residents, hasn't stood up and denounced it. So here's the bottom line. On the issues that most affect Latinos, Chris Christie has failed. On the issues that most affect African Americans, Chris Christie has failed. On the issues that most affect women, Chris Christie has failed. When the when the people of New Jersey have needed him most, Chris Christie has failed. And yet, in absolute disregard for our state, he is crisscrossing the country, charting a path to the presidency. At this point, Governor Christie is just itching to leave New Jersey in the dust to satisfy his own personal ambitions. We know where his priorities lie, but when Barbara came to me, I thought about my own. I thought of the working people I represent, people who have to choose between filling their gas tanks and filling their refrigerators. I thought of the recent college graduates drowning in debt, sending cover letters and resumes to employers who never called them back. I thought of you, the people of New Jersey, waiting for years to be heard, desperate for something to change, calling for a brighter tomorrow. So as I did over 20 years ago, today again, I had to answer the call. I have full faith that Barbara will put New Jersey back on the path to prosperity. She knows that progress will begin only when this age of forcing the middle class to sacrifice for the sake of the wealthy comes to an end. Right? She understands firsthand that a quality education is the most powerful tool we can give the next generation. And she believes wholeheartedly that a New Jersey of equality of opportunity for all of our residents is possible. Here and now, the stakes are so high. There is much riding on this election. In this moment, men and women all across our state are counting on us, and we owe it to the people of New Jersey to deliver. So, you know, my mother taught me from an early age to say what I mean and mean what I say. Bien predica que bien vive. So in closing, let me say this. Chris Christie may have made a pit stop in Trenton, but New Jersey belongs to us. And so, on November 5th, for my children, for your children, and every child across this great state, we are going to take New Jersey back.